going to be making a sourdough starter today using flour ground from these wheat kernels. This is the mill I'm going to be using. I've already got the wheat kernels in here, so we're going to turn this on and get it ground. Let's see what we got. I'm going to set my scale here to measure grams, and we need 50 grams of flour. Now, I'm not going to sift this. Some people might want to get the gram, the bran, the outside of the kernel out. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to leave it in. So I was able to get 32 grams just out of what was in the lid, and now we're going to tip this thing up and get some more out of it. Alright, well, I'll just put whatever's left in this jar, and we have our 50 grams of wheat flour. I'm going to be using this jar to put it in. It has a lid on its own that I can just kind of hold down a bit so no bugs can get in or dust. But I took the seal off that came with it, so it's not airtight. So with leaving the bran in and making this with fresh flour instead of just flour from the store, it will be, from the research I did, it will be a lot of a faster fermentation or process, and probably will not take the full week to get up and going ready to bake. But we'll see if it works that way or if it's not actually quite like that. I've got this zeroed back out. I need 50 grams of liquid. I'm going to do 40 grams of water, and I heard that adding 10 grams of yogurt whey is a great way to add an extra boost to your starter, so I'm going to try that too. Now you want this to be filtered water. You can't have any chlorine in it. It's a bit too much. But if you have chlorine in your water, then you'll want to let it sit out for at least overnight, if not longer, so you don't end up killing your starter. Now with the bran in it, from what I read, it might take a bit more liquid just to keep it to the consistency of like thick pancake batter, if that is what you're looking for. So we're going to get this mixed up. that everything you're using for this is very clean. You don't want dust in it or anything foreign like that will make it that much harder for your starter to work. So this is organic, plain yogurt. I'm just trying to get some of this liquid that separates off the whey. Well, that's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow to feed this again and stir it up and see how it's doing. But I'm definitely looking forward to being able to make sourdough bread out of this. We'll be back tomorrow. I have already fed my starter 4 times now. Well, today will be the 4th day. And I am here to do it again. I have the leftovers from last time I did flour, and it's only about 40 grams, so I'm going to have to go ahead and grind some more to get that up to 50, and we'll go from there. So I mentioned last time that I was using this flip top jar and it was letting in gnats. They kept getting into my starter. So I put the seal on and still gnats were getting in. So I'm going to be transferring this to another jar, just a regular canning jar, and using a sprouting lid so it's a thin mesh, and that should do better. This will let me get back down to 50 grams of starter. There's the 50 grams of starter. Add the flour now. So in doing my research on using fresh ground flour with the bran in it, it said that it might need fed more often. So I might be needing to feed this twice a day going forward rather than just once, depending on how quickly it doubles. And if you're like me trying to start, I was trying to learn how, I was wondering why you discard. Why do you have to just take some and throw it away or get rid of it in some way? And it's to keep the amount you have to feed low enough to be manageable. And then when you need more, you just feed more. Before you use it in the recipe. Alright, well, that should do it. And on the cool nights, as it's getting cooler, I'll be putting it like in the oven with the light on, and that should be about all it needs unless it's really cold, and then it'll go downstairs where it's much warmer than up here in the winter. So that's it for today. So our starter is, I think, ready to use, best I can tell, and I'm going to be making bread with it tonight. And it's pretty late. We've got broth going on the oven or stove, and making crackers for church retreat coming up this weekend, but we're making bread right now. So I've got 200 grams of active starter here. I fed this a couple hours ago. I guess more than a couple. It's been about 4 or 5 hours ago. And so it's doubled. It's about in its prime. So it's time to use it. I've got fresh flour in here. And we're going to be mixing water and salt and making bread. Let's get this going. Going to be 20 grams of this. And then if you want to just make a single loaf, just half of everything. So I'm just doubling the recipe I found. Now I have tried before, not the sourdough, just regular bread, using this whole wheat flour with bran and everything, and I haven't had much success. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this recipe turns out. That's all mixed in, and now it has to sit and start fermenting. So that'll be the next step. We've got to set it somewhere and keep it warm while it ferments. So, as you can see, we have a loaf of sourdough bread here. Now, it did not turn out like I expected, but to taste is good. I think I want to increase the salt, maybe add some honey to it, and for taste, I think that'll be about all it needs. Texture, the outside is a little strange, and I can explain that in a bit, but the texture of the bread itself is great, so I'm happy with that. But there were a couple things that did not go the way I was expecting them to from my research. They say you're supposed to stretch and fold. Well, I had this in a bowl, sitting like it was supposed to ferment, and when I came up with the 30 minutes and the hour, and there was no stretching and folding. It was just about the same as it was when I put it in. So I stirred it a few times, turned it and stirred it, and I did get that, and then it did seem to get a little more stretchy, but not anything that I would actually be able to stretch without it tearing. But then when I put it in the pans, there was no shaping. It was just kind of scoop it out and pat it in, and that's why the top looks so funny. But I think that with a little tweaking and a little more learning, then this will be a great loaf. And maybe once my starter is a little older, and this is a brand new starter, this is its first loaf, so maybe once it's a little older, it'll do a little differently, but we're here for the ride and find out as we go. So thank you for joining us. I am thrilled with this. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time. Welcome back to Bringing Life. I am going to be making a flour... Turn it off. Welcome back to Bringing Life. I'm going to be making a sourdough... Stop it! I can't do this if you can make me laugh every 3 seconds.